Want to keep your kids entertained during these crazy times? Get some amazing books from Colleen at Usborne Books and More. They have everything from regular to pop-up to touchy-feeling books for toddlers and babies, all the way to educational books for kindergarten and grade school students, and they even have Shakespeare. Go to https://p9680.myubam.com. The link is going to be in the comments and in the description below. Other than this video is ad-free thanks to Colleen, so support her and support this channel. Thank you guys very much. One last thank you, and that goes out to the patrons of this channel. Thank you guys so much. Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I'm your innkeeper, Vase Odin, and today we'll be talking about Live and Learn. Forbidden. Live and Learn is a survivor event from the Heart of the Elders Mythos pack. It costs 0 resources to play and has 1 wild icon. It is spirit traded. And it has wording that reads, fast. Play after a skill test you failed ends. After resolving all effects from the failed test, attempt that test again. You get a +2 skill value for this test. Sounds pretty straightforward, but this card is actually a bit more complex than it seems at first glance. So first, let's go into how this card actually works, and then we'll go into some more complex functions for it. At its most basic function, after you fail a skill test and resolve all of the effects from failing, you can play this card as a fast action and take the test again, this time with a +2 bonus. Let's say you take a fight test against an enemy with a combat value of 4 and it has Retaliate. Your combat is 4 and you commit Unexpected Courage to the test, which is a neutral skill card from the core set. It ups your value to a 6, so you pull from the Chaos Bag and you happen to pull a -3. You now have failed the test. The creature retaliates, dealing damage to you. At this point, you can play Live and Learn, and the card you committed to the test is no longer going to grant you a bonus, so you're back at 4 versus 4. But with Live and Learn, you get a +2 bonus to the test, putting you right back at 6 to a 4, and you can take the test again without having to use an action. The cool thing about this card is that it may open up some tactical complexities when you take the test again, which means the basic example I just gave is probably one of the least efficient ways to actually use this card. When you take the test again after using this card, you can commit cards or boost your skill test using talents and those type of things, and this is where Live and Learn actually shines. Once you play the card, your investigator doesn't need to pay any cost associated with the skill test again, such as ammunition, action spent, all those type of things. Although anything spent to improve the previous test, like cards that you committed or resources that you spent on a talent or such, are lost at the end of the first test. And FFG has stepped in and made an official ruling on some of the more confusing interactions between this card and others, specifically drawing thin a 0-cost survivor asset from the Wages of Sin Mythos pack. Here's verbatim per Matthew Newman, the lead developer of Arkham Horror the card game. As a general rule, when you use Live and Learn to attempt a test a second time, all effects with a duration that expire at the end of the first attempt will have expired by the time the second begins. This includes effects used during the first attempt that say, until the end of the skill test, or for this skill test, or bonuses from committed cards, which are all discarded at the end of the first attempt. Effects that are inherent to the test itself, the test parameters, what happens if you succeed or fail, that kind of thing, all remain the same, even if they have a duration of for this test. So, for example, if an effect said play during a skill test until the end of the skill test, increase the test difficulty by 2, that would expire at the end of the first attempt. Whereas if the test itself said fight, increase the difficulty of this test by 2, that increase in difficulty would exist in both the first and the second attempts. Now for the tricky part, which one of those is drawing thin? Is it an effect that initiates during a skill test with a duration of that expires at the end of the skill test, or is it an effect which alters the inherent nature of the skill test itself, such that it would affect both attempts? Since drawing thin does not explicitly say any variation of until the end of the skill test or for this skill test, and since its triggering condition is a when reaction to the skill test initiating and not something used during the first attempt, My ruling is that drawing thin is changing the skill test's inherent difficulty to be too higher, altering the nature of the test itself. Therefore, if you use drawing thin when the skill test initiates and then use live and learn to attempt that test a second time, the increased difficulty would carry over to the second attempt. That's definitely a lot to take in. So what does this mean? Well, for the sake of clarity, let me just go ahead and bullet point. Drawing thin would up the difficulty of the test by 2. The test's inherent difficulty will be 2 higher even on the second attempt, granted by live and learn. Ammo and charges spent are only used on the initiation of the first test, which means that you don't have to use another charge or another piece of ammunition for the second test. The result of succeeding the test remain the same, so extra damage granted by a spell is still applied if you succeed on the second attempt. Any cards you committed to the first attempt or events that use the wording until the end of the skill test do not carry over to the second attempt. And you may commit cards to the second attempt, and cards that you committed during the first attempt are discarded. Okay, now let's talk about Lucky, a one-cost survivor event from the core set. A lot of people compare Live and Learn with Lucky because they seem to fill a similar space, and I think that they do, but there are differences. First, is Live and Learn better than Lucky? No. But is it worse? No, I don't think so either. It's just different, though it can fill a similar role sometimes. Let's go ahead and dive in and explore some of those differences. So first, and very importantly, Live and Learn synergizes better with Dark Horse, a 3-cost survivor asset from the Undimensioned and Unseen Mythos pack. Lucky costs 1 to play, which puts a damper on Dark Horse strategies, since Dark Horse requires you to be at 0 resources in order for you to benefit from the +1 to all your stats. At a 0 cost, Live and Learn is a perfect card to pack in a Dark Horse deck. But that's not the only difference between the two cards. Lucky can ensure success on a skill test that you fail by 2 or less. This card doesn't ensure success at all. But unlike Lucky, it can help against a test where you fail by more than 2. So here's an example. Say you're investigating at a skill value of 5, and the location you're investigating has a shroud value of 3. You pull an autofail, which means that Lucky is not going to help you in this case. But Live and Learn can help, not only by saving the action to investigate again, but also granting you a +2 to your second attempt. This time, you are much more likely to succeed. What's great about this card is that it can help you keep your tempo, especially with tests that you fail that you really should have passed. Use Live and Learn and you don't have to waste another action investigating, for example. The other great thing is that you don't have to waste cards by committing them to a test that you have a high chance to succeed at, but you really, really need to pass. This is such a huge benefit of having this card in hand that you can't really quantify it. It lets you play more confidently and take risks that will propel you forward into victory. For example, say you're at a location with a shroud of 2 and your investigate value is a 5. You know your chance of success is over 80%, but if you fail, next turn you're going to have 2 hunter enemies on you, preventing you from getting the clue that's going to help you advance the act. You can overcommit cards to the test since it's a crucial test, but next round you're not going to have cards to commit when dealing with the enemies that you need to deal with. With Live and Learn in hand, you can be more confident in taking the test without committing anything, because even an autofail won't stop you from attempting again, and with an 80% chance to succeed and a +2 bonus added to the second attempt, you're pretty much going to have a really good chance of succeeding that. And you don't have to use this card if you do happen to succeed on that first attempt. The strength of such a tactical move is so good and yet so subtle that sometimes it's overlooked. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. It can be a drawback to have to deal with the repercussions of a failed test when using this card. Keywords like retaliate or haunted, which is found in the circle and done cycle, can mess you up if you fail the test. And being allowed to retake the test may not be a good enough benefit to warrant the potential devastating effects of the first failure. But the good news is that survivors have a card pool with a plethora of cards that synergize very well with Live and Learn and also failing skill tests. Cards like Lucky Rabbit's Foot from the core set, or Take Heart from Heart of the Elders, or Look What I Found from the core set, and many, many others. They grant great benefits from failing a test. you can fail the test, get some benefit from the cards I just mentioned, play Live and Learn, and still manage to pass the test without wasting an additional action. So what initially seems like a very simple card can actually lead to many great combos and tactics that can help you eke out a win. And that does it for our video on Live and Learn. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, all that kind of stuff. And if you have any questions, as always, leave them down there in the comments below. This is your innkeeper Vase Odin from the Twisted Tentacle Inn. Check in anytime. I'll talk to you soon.